This little bait right here is a bad dude. In today's video, I'm going to break down the Xcite Baits Minnobi 3.3, why you need to have it in your box, and how it's going to help you catch more big fish. The concept for this bait right here was spawned out of drop shot fishing. It was spawned out of my distaste for going out drop shot fishing and carrying a bag of goby imitations, a bag of bait fish imitations, and very rarely were there baits that could cross over very effectively between the two. And because of that, I was given the opportunity with Xcite Baits to help them design a bait that can catch giant smallmouth in a variety of different situations. So it's funny how this opportunity came to be, but Lloyd from Xcite Baits reached out to me in January of 2023. I've known Lloyd for a long time. Xcite was actually my very first sponsor I ever had back when I was fishing college. I picked up some of their raptor tail chunks and I was on like their pro staff team getting a discount on some of their products. Well, as the years would go by, I realized that they were more of a Texas-based company, a largemouth company, and as my focus switched to smallmouth, specifically smallmouth, we just really weren't able to work together going forward. Well, in January of this year, Lloyd reached out and came to me with the opportunity to design a drop shot bait for him to help him start to expand into the smallmouth world. And one of the biggest gaps that I saw was having a bait that could imitate both gobies and bait fish. And this was something I didn't necessarily know exactly how I was going to accomplish, but I had played around with this idea with a couple of other drop shot baits in the past. Taking a bait that was originally designed as a goby imitation with the flat side down and turning it over so your rounded side was the belly. I was really focused on the general profile, having the right length and size to give it the action we needed with all of the components built in to do what we wanted it to do. So some of the things that I knew I wanted in the bait was a flat bottom side to give that bait natural gliding action when it's on a drop shot or a Ned rig. But I also knew that that tail had to have some sort of bulb on the end of it, because what this does around current is it causes that tail to have a shimmy to it. This is something I picked up over the years in fishing other worms that had a bulb tail on them, which gives that bait a lot of action, especially when you're fishing it around current, or if you're actually straight reeling that bait back to the boat. I also wanted to create something that not only could be a good drop shot bait, but very versatile in its presentation. And I knew if you put a bulb on the back end of this bait, you would give the bait action coming through the water, even on a slow, steady retrieve. The other thing that I knew I wanted were these stabilizing fins. Now this is something that is, I would consider, very different in the drop shot world. There aren't many baits that have fins that are going to stabilize that bait. And little did I know at the time that these fins were going to be a really key part of making this bait so effective at both methods of rigging. And the final thing that I knew was really critical was having that T-tail design. This to me is an often overlooked part of this bait, but it gives it specific action when you rig it with the flat side on top. The T-tail actually comes from the cross tail that Jackal designed years ago.
And a lot of times I'll talk about with a drop shot bait, especially a soft, supple bait like a cross-tail shad, and I'll talk, there he is, he ate it.
The reason that this is so important, specifically rigged flat side on top, is because it catches that water and helps this bait stabilize, but also have side-to-side movement. It also provides some rigidity to the tail, so it has more of a kicking, swimming motion than it would if it could just more easily bend in that area of the bait. One of the most special design features in this bait is the two different rigging methods which are going to cause different actions when you're fishing this bait. Rigged with the flat side down, you have more of a goby profile, and this bait is going to have more of a gliding action. But if you flip that bait over with the rounded side on bottom, flat side on top, like a bait fish, you're going to get more of a darting, rolling action in the bait. It's also extremely versatile because of that, so you can rig it on a drop shot, you can rig it on a Ned rig, you can rig it on a small underspin. All of these different features are going to play differently based on the presentation and the method that you choose. And that's really where the name Minnobi came from. Minnow, goby imitation. It's ultra versatile, and it's what I believe the first bait on the market to very effectively imitate both a minnow and a goby based on the rigging method that you choose. So continuing to build on that theme, not only do you have specific rigging methods, but you have specific color patterns based on what you're trying to imitate. So for our bait fish presentations, and we have 3 different bait fish colors, you have a darker color on the flat side of the bait, like a bait fish would have, and a more translucent lighter color on the belly. Whereas with our goby color, Sandman, you have that darker sandy watermelon and then that pearlescent belly. So specifically designed colors to imitate the forage that you're fishing. We also have really specifically designed colors for various situations. Whether you're fishing really clean water, you have your real shad, you have your royal minnow, which is better for those off-color water situations when that low light condition and those fish are feeding on bait fish. So there's a lot of thought that went into this bait and a lot of really cool design features that allow me to put my hands into creating a bait that I believe is one of the best drop shot baits ever created. Now, I've mentioned it before in the video, but it's also extremely versatile. I've fished this bait on a drop shot, obviously, a Ned rig. It works really well, especially flat side down because it has that gliding action. You can fish it on an underspin with the flat side on top, and that tail actually gives this bait a little shimmy. So if you wanted, you could just rig it on a straight ball head and fish it like a Cindy rig, which is one of the most popular techniques coming up in the smallmouth world right now because that little tail has a shimmy coming through the water. And it's also incredibly effective fished around current. A lot of drop shot baits, which have your standard tapered tail, don't have much action, but when this bait is fished around current, that little tail is going to give that bait a shimmy, and it's going to help you trigger more fish to bite. Finally, the plastic that we use is a neutrally buoyant or slightly floating plastic. So what this is going to do is keep this bait standing straight off your hook or up in the water. You're going to get those 2 different actions based on your rigging method, and this bait is just going to catch you a ton of big fish. I'm really encouraging you guys, if you haven't already checked out the Minnobi 3.3 from Xcite Baits, go check it out. I'm going to have links down in the description below. It's going to take you to Xcite's website so you can pick some up and check some out yourself. Some of my favorite colors are Old Ben, which is that first color I showed you. It's basically your smallmouth staple, your green pumpkin translucent with purple and orange or gold flake. Then you have Sandman, which is your real goby imitation. It's probably one of the best goby imitations on the market. A sandy watermelon back, that light pearlescent belly, and then real shad. Real shad is my go-to color anytime I'm fishing really clean water situations, imitating those small, young of the year bait fish. Whether you're fishing on alewife, white bass, shad, Cisco, this is my go-to color when you're fishing those really clean water situations. So those are probably my top 3 colors, but there's a ton of awesome colors out there for you guys to check out. I'm really excited about the Minnobi, not only because of the bait design, not only because I designed it, but I think it's going to change the way that people think about their bait design as they're creating lures in the future. Having multiple different actions and profiles in the same bait, having different color patterns based on what you're fishing around, really building in these creative design features without going out and blatantly knocking off other companies. Really cool design features. I encourage you guys to pick up a couple packs, and I can't wait to see what you guys are catching. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, click this link right here. It's going to take you to see another one. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already. Be sure to go pick up some packs of Minnobis from Xcite Baits. It's a phenomenal bait. It's going to catch you guys big fish the rest of this year and into the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, tight lines. God bless. Pursue your passion.